This ball is crushed. Man, what a shot.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the HIT.OR.DIE podcast with your hosts, Jake Saldati and Chad Rothford.
Welcome. It's been a fun week.
Yeah,
last week was a fun week.
It's always been a fun week, but the first thing you surprised me with our paper today. It's on cardstock. So, are we making money on this?
No,
we're not. We just went big time today. Leftover from coaching, huh? You got to put it to use.
Exactly, that's what it is.
You got to put it to use.
Yes, it's leftover from coaching. I couldn't find where our reams of paper in the office were, so I had some cardstock laying around.
Ream of
cardstock. You know, it's big time.
Big time.
You know
just on the paper, though. Just on the paper.
Yeah. What else do you want?
No, I'm good. We're solid. You
want me to have like professional cards made? You want like somebody standing over there with cue cards?
No, we don't need that shit. We're good. We're solid. We're not fake or anything. We just do what we do.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun week. Last week was a fun week. I guess not for everybody, but it was we put out a lot of stuff, got a lot of feedback, a lot of messages. Thank you everybody for reaching out. I was thinking about, with the topic that came up and that we discussed last week and into the messages and the recruiting topic, we have a lot of listeners not in the area, knowing that we have a decent audience in Texas, in certain areas, in Sacramento, especially.
Well, the whole country.
Yeah. But some are bigger than others. And in those areas, I'd love to know what goes on. Like, how is it the same? Are the same? Like, I could imagine in Texas, like Texas football is probably brutal when it comes to that stuff.
But up and down the board, they're all better than us anyways. I think Texas football is different.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like that recruiting.
Yeah, I think they have so many good football players that I don't think they really have to worry about one team being.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how the culture is there. Like, I know football is such a big deal.
Football is different.
And like maybe they're more apt to like, this is like the thought of staying at your home school where your parents went to school, where grandpa went to school. Like, yeah. Maybe that's a bigger
that's what
I'm saying. There may be a bigger deal to
take pride in tradition and where you came from.
Maybe that's a bigger thing there. But like Sacramento and in that area, there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah.
Is that something that runs rampant? The contacting and recruiting. So I would love to hear.
I'm sure it does
from our audience. If that is the case, wherever you are, what is it like in your town, and how often do you deal with that stuff? To me, it's interesting. It's been talked about. But today we've got, another guest. If you didn't get to listen to Austin Young, please do. Fantastic young man, going to be a Bulldog. Excited to see him get things going and at Fresno State, just the Dogs in general, talking to Bates, and you've talked to Bates. Really looking forward to them getting after it. And then you guys started too.
Yeah, we've been going 2 weeks. Super excited. We got a really good team, and we just made our final cuts, I think at least on the position player side. So I'm ready to get after it on Monday. We've been getting after it, but you know me, and I can't really. I'm kind of letting them do their thing right now. I still implemented a hitting program, when you first get there, but starting Monday, it's full go. I'm diving in deep.
I think Reedley College is also either they did this week or next week are also starting up, and baseball's, it's back. And then obviously football starting up. High school football started last night, which is great. I'm ready for football season. The Dogs start next week. The 27th or 28th is their first game of the season. So get out and support the Bulldogs, man. All the sports. I'm glad this, fans can get in there and go do stuff, and at least for now.
Yeah.
We'll see how much that changes. But, again, we appreciate everybody sending us messages and reaching out. It's been fun talking to people and just hearing stories and getting everybody's, idea of what or thoughts about what we had to say. Not everybody agreed, and that's okay, man. We welcome.
It's about 90-10 though.
Yeah, we welcome
about 90%.
It's probably
agree and 10%.
It's probably even more than 90, but we welcome
100%.
We welcome different opinions.
100%. It's more than 90%.
Yeah, I'm just we don't shy away from other. Everybody's a right has the entitled to their opinion, and they should, and that's what it's about,
But at least makes sense.
Some of them should.
Yeah,
but no, we welcome that stuff. It's been fun to talk about and hear different perspectives. So we continue that conversation. We're always open to talk about it. And if anybody else has opinions and stuff, please reach out to us. We're in. Today's guest, former Bulldog.
Hence the theme.
Yeah. Fresno State. 10th round pick out of Fresno State. Went to Soquel High School and played 8 years in the big leagues. Casey McGehee is our guest today.
Hits McGehee.
Hits McGehee, as they called him. I think that started in Miami when he came back from Japan. Could have been earlier. I'm sure with that name, he probably got called something McGee a lot.
I know if I was a teammate, he would have hated me. I would have called him everything McGee.
Oh, man. Yeah, no. Soquel High School graduate, went to Fresno State, was a freshman All-American, honorable mention, was the co-MVP as a sophomore, and was a 10th round pick by the Chicago Cubs in 2003 MLB draft. Made his debut in 2008 with Chicago Cubs and was claimed by the Brewers in 2009. Ended up 5th that year in rookie voting, and played with 7 teams and then 3 years in Japan. Won a Japan series, Japan series title in 2013. And in 2014 was named NL Comeback Player of the Year with Miami. So that's pretty cool. And finished his career, MLB career in Detroit, and went back to Japan after that for the 2017-2018 season. And that was it after 2018. So we're excited to have Casey McGehee join us today.
Yeah,
I
am too, because my brother was there in his last year. He was there, so I was at every single game, and something he did when he was at the plate, I picked up on, and I took it with me the rest of my career.
Are you going to tell us that? Or are you going to wait till he's?
I'll wait till he's on, and I'll tell him what I kind of
pick his brain, right?
But it was a game changer for me.
For those that I would suggest go looking up his stuff. His Japan numbers, are ridiculous. Like he could hit on, like he could rake already.
Hits McGee.
Yeah, hits McGee. But I mean, like his numbers in Japan were whoa, like impressive.
I mean, even to think retiring after 18, 285, 21 homers, and 84 ribbies. People don't retire after that, so he could hit.
Now, we've done some not trivia, and I kind of ruined this already because I forgot that I discussed it in there. So don't look at the notes. I don't know how much research you did on your own.
None. I've been really busy.
He's got some interesting stat lines through his career.
Okay.
So I've got 4. Okay. And one of these 4 is not real.
Okay.
It's fake. It didn't happen.
You and this.
Hey, it's fun. Okay. Right. You and this. People don't know about the side gig. So name that stat, Chad, and you guys can guess if you're listening.
Yeah. Help me out
or watching.
This already happened. I know, but
so
answer with me.
Again, don't look at the notes.
Okay.
So
I'll turn them over. This nice cardstock. It's
in Casey's high school senior year, he had 0 strikeouts during the season.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Casey had a total of 67 home runs in the big leagues and 67 home runs in Japan. Number 3, Casey had 0 stolen bases in the big leagues. Number 4, in 8 seasons, Casey played for 7 teams in Major League Baseball.
Well, that's true.
So
you said
I screwed that up already.
But there's no way in 8 years he didn't steal a base. I'm probably wrong, but I'm just thinking I'm going to call him out on it too. There's no way he didn't steal a base.
Do you want the answer or you want to wait? I can give you the answer.
Yeah, give me the answer.
The answer is 3. You're correct.
Yeah.
He stole 7 bases.
Yeah, I was gonna say I there's no way.
His senior in high
he's
school,
not the slowest guy.
And his senior year in high school, he had 489
with 0 strikeouts.
with 0 strikeouts.
I can see that.
And he hit the exact same number of home runs in Japan as he did in the MLB.
That's crazy.
So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get Casey McGehee, again, Fresno State Bulldog, on the Hit.OR.DIE podcast. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Hit.OR.DIE podcast. Here with your hosts, Jake Saldati and Chad Rothford, and our guest, Casey McGehee. Hits McGehee, as we call him, right? Hits McGehee. Thanks for joining the show, Casey.
No, I appreciate it. It's pretty neat. I don't get a chance to really reminisce back to my Fresno State days, and just even doing this is, it kind of brought me back a little bit. Brought back a lot of good memories, and reminded me of a lot of really good folks that I met out there.
Going back even before, though, to SoCal High School. Yeah, you were a pretty talented basketball player, I read.
Somebody's being far too kind. I think what the new phrase is what 3-and-D. Is that the new thing in the NBA? You got your 3-and-D guys. That was me. I was going to play some defense, and if you left me alone, I could knock down a shot. But talented, no.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, you're pretty good basketball player. But I mean, looking at your numbers, I thought I read too, and I told Chad a little trivia.
He gave me a little trivia to see what was true or false on some of your
senior year. 490 basically with 10 bombs, but no strikeouts.
Junior year was better. I think I hit 500 my junior year, and I still dispute the fact that I got rung up on a 3-2 pitch that I know was outside.
Oh, that's good stuff. But you do make your way to Fresno State, and one, I want to know how that process went. You know, the recruiting process. Was there multiple schools? And what led you to Fresno State? Because after talking to Pappy, he's going to say that it was your recruiting trip where him and Labby were your hosts. Because he told me, he didn't tell me the story, but he did say, "Oh yeah, I love Kate. Me and Lab were him and CP."
And us knowing Pappy and Labby, we know you either don't remember it or you had a really good time.
And if it's not something we need to talk about, we don't need to. But somehow you ended up being a Bulldog.
So, yeah, we had a good time. What they don't tell you is that half the team showed up, because when you're in college and somebody's got the money to go take the recruits out, all the boys are coming.
Well, and the money doesn't go to you. It goes to the team.
Yeah, no, we just happen to be there. Dude, and this is no joke. I was nervous because I had to meet with Coach Bennett in the morning, and Coach Bennett, like he wasn't a young man at that time, so he's getting up early. So the meeting was at like 6:30 in the morning, and so I was trying to play it pretty cool. These dudes, we ate so much that like I think I puked from eating more, but not anything else. Just we ate more food than you could possibly get, because they were all going to spend every dollar of that allotment they had, and but no. So my recruiting deal, a guy that played at Fresno State before me, Giuseppe Cheramani, went to SoCal, and his brother Chino played football at State, and so that kind of in my mind he was somebody I looked up to, seeing him in my hometown and whatnot. So that kind of put Fresno State on my radar as it was. And when I was in 8th grade, I tried to get into Fresno State's camp as an 8th grader, but I wasn't allowed to. And Coach Purse sent me back a handwritten note that was, "Hey, dude, you're in 8th grade. We can't let you in. Sign up next year," or whatever. Well, me being stupid, I didn't realize that he was just trying to be nice about it. But I thought it was cool that he took the time to write something out by hand. And so in my mind, I was like, dude, he thinks I'm a guy. He already knows who I am in 8th grade. He had no idea who I was. So I show up to the camp the next year, and in my mind, like, that's where I wanted to go. And I played travel ball for NorCal with Rob Bruno, who, for my money, runs the best travel program in the country. And we would go and play all these different places, Florida, Atlanta, Cleveland, wherever it was. And so I was getting recruited by a lot of schools that were not in California. Tulane, University of Tennessee, excuse me. Those were the two that really were showing the most interest. And at the time, Cal State Fullerton was rolling. And so in my mind, it was either I really wanted to go to Fresno, Cal State Fullerton, or Arizona State. Arizona State, at least I figured out early that they had like 75 guys that they were offering scholarships to, and not everybody was going to stay. So that was out. And as soon as I went on one recruiting trip, why I flew from Santa Cruz to Fresno on a plane, I have no idea. But I did it. And I got there, and it was really a formality. I didn't go on any other trips or anything. I knew that's where I wanted to be.
Did you have Rupsich? Did you talk to Rupsich or just Bennett? Because I know Rupsich, he did a lot of the recruiting stuff with the hitters and stuff. Coach
Bennett was like, man, it was like meeting the mafia don. You had to go through all the different layers to get to him. Coach Rupsich was the one I talked to the most. And Coach Rupp, I don't think he kind of gets. I shouldn't say this because he's a legend in Fresno, but like people don't realize like that's a good dude. Like Coach Rupsich is one of the best humans you will ever meet. And that was that whole staff. I mean, Jason Pappy, I think, was our grad assistant my first year. He's a derelict, but other than that, everybody else, I mean, they're just solid, good dudes. And from day one, I mean, we came out and worked. So it was a perfect fit for me, I guess, is the best way to put it.
The old school mentality too. And I mean, at that time too, that stadium was, still not a lot of teams had a place to play like Fresno State.
No. And if you're going to go hit, the ball flies,
yeah.
That was before they changed the bats. It was nuclear warheads in Fresno, 100 degrees, balls flying everywhere. But yeah, I think Coach Bennett was, that was the big selling point to me. Just the knowledge that he had and the attention to detail that he had about every little aspect of it. I'm sure you guys have heard the stories of the meeting about how to put on a uniform during 3 days. And I always laughed because when guys would come back, Terrence Frazier is one in particular, I remember about how he couldn't stand Coach Bennett when he played for him. And him telling the story that years later, some of the messages that he received from him kind of made sense. And I always thought it was kind of bullshit. But as I've gotten older, thinking back, like, why was that meeting even a thing? And why was it something we did every year? And I think finally I realized it was, if you can take the attention to detail to put a sanitary sock on and then a stirrup and turn it the right way so it doesn't fall down, like I can trust you to take care of that detail. I can trust you to take care of a much bigger detail. And so that was something that really stuck with me throughout my career, was just being the attention to detail.
Oh, and then you play for Bennett, and then he ends up leaving after your sophomore season. And then Batesall comes in for your last year there, your junior year. Was there with what goes on now, the transfer portal and all that, was there any thought in your mind that you might leave Fresno State?
No, I wasn't going anywhere. I think it was a tough year for everybody. I think it was a tough year for Coach Batesall, trying to put myself in his shoes to come in and be the guy after the guy. Obviously wanting to make a mark and make it his own and make it different. And then on the player side, those of us that were the holdovers, we loved what we had. And there was maybe some pushback about changing some things. I think there was one day Coach Batesall got really pissed at me, and I think he offered to sign my transfer sheet right there anywhere I wanted to go. I'm hoping he didn't mean it, but no, I wasn't going to go anywhere.
I remember because my brother was there with you that year last year, and I went to every single game. I went to every single game anyways, but definitely that year because my brother was there. And I was telling Jake before this, there was a thing that you did in the box that it was something I've never seen before, that I implied it to my own batting that next year when I got to junior college, and it actually prolonged my career. And I think you might know it. You had the lean, the timing where you leaned forward and then you rocked back to get your load. And I thought that was like the coolest thing I ever saw. And I've never seen it before. You're the first person I ever saw do that. And I'm just like, because sometimes you have trouble not getting on your backside. So I was like, dude, I'm going to try that out. And I just fell in love with it. My timing became like better. And I did that the rest of my career. And you prolonged my career when you didn't even know it.
Well, I wish I could have prolonged my own.
Oh, get out of here.
But no, and that's one of those things that I don't know where it started. I don't know how I kind of came up with that. But I guess this is the Santa Cruz hippie coming out in me, I guess. But like, to me, the one thing that always made sense is when you're hitting, your feet are attached to what? They're attached to the ground, right? And there's obvious that the earth has got some sort of energy in it, and I've got to be connected to it. And so that was kind of my way of reminding myself to have my feet attached and connected to the ground, and being able to draw that energy up through my lower half, and then ultimately out through my midsection, and out through the bat head. And that's kind of how it started, was just me wanting to remind myself to make sure I stay connected with the ground. And I go back and look now my swing, and it evolved a couple of different times. But that was always kind of a constant in my swing, was trying to figure out ways to feel my feet connected to the ground. And I think, the timing of it, once I got to a point and the slide step started becoming a thing, and, so many different pitchers, especially when you're in pro ball and you're facing new guys that you have no idea who they are on a daily basis. I had to minimize that a little bit and find other ways around it. But I've always felt, for me personally, that hitting is really a rhythm thing, and I've got to have my rhythm and my cadence and be able to be consistent with that. And so that's probably a long answer to a non-question, but that's kind of where that came from.
Nah, any information's good information.
That's exactly why I did it too. I just thought it looked cool, and I tried it, and I felt really good. And
I feel like we've got to put a disclaimer out there for anybody that's like, oh, I'm going to go and try that. Don't do it. Like, there's whole videos of me, like 17 minutes long. My kids love bringing it up when I start trying to flex on them and me hitting in double plays. Don't do it.
Nobody's as good as us, right?
Yeah. Should we we got time for real quick before we jump ahead?
Oh yeah, is that his
It's
interview?
his.
Yeah,
just a little fun for you.
See if you remember.
Again, doing my research, I came across an article from Fresno State, March 6th, 2002. It was a Q&A with you. And there's 1, 2, I think there's 6, 7 questions. I'm going to ask you the same questions from 2002.
Oh, God.
And maybe give me your answer now, and I'll tell you what your answer was back then.
All right.
The first one was, what word would others use to describe you?
Man. See, now here's the catch. I'm trying to think back to 2000.
20 years ago.
20 years ago, I would say passionate and intense would probably be one of those two words currently.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like that. That fits as far as talking to you. Fun loving was your answer.
No. I have fun. Don't get me wrong, but
fun loving.
That was probably a response to a lot of nights in the Bulldog apartments. I don't know.
If you could be a cartoon character, who would you be?
I think I might get this one. I'm saying Speedy Gonzalez, because that's one thing that I could never do is run.
Mighty Mouse.
What? What's that? Why? Did I explain that?
No, it just gives me the answer.
I don't think I said that. I'm calling
misquote. We're calling misquote on that one.
Yeah, just like that 3-2 strikeout.
Yeah, it's not it's ball 4.
Yeah, we write history. It didn't happen. It's only in black and white right there with quotes around. It didn't happen.
I think this one you might know. We'll see. What is your most treasured possession? Back in 2002.
Oh, dude, I don't even know. I don't know. I didn't have anything.
It's set. So the answer here is my grandfather's watch.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one. See, now that's an easy one now. My wife and kids. So
right. Exactly. So If you weren't a baseball player, what would you be?
Weatherman.
Weatherman. I friggin' love that answer, by the way. You said construction worker.
No, weatherman. I changed. Weatherman. It's the only other job you can screw up half the time.
I'm gonna have to call Fresno State. I'm at to call Fresno State, and we need a retraction. We need this.
Yeah, we need to redo it.
Yeah, this needs to be updated.
Weatherman's my go-to because you think about it, like, well, where you guys are, it's like, dude, yeah, it's gonna be hot as shit for the next 300 days. Like, it's easy. But here, like, everybody, like, you got to play the isn't gonna rain game every day. It's like, dude, 50-50. It's either raining or it's not. Pick one, go with it. You're probably wrong. You're not getting fired because nobody was going to be right. Same thing as hitting.
Let's see. What is 2002? What is your favorite movie?
Oh,
and I'm assuming baseball movie. Well, it is. The answer is a baseball movie. I'll give you that clue.
Something really corny, like For Love of the Game.
That's exactly right. Yeah. For the Love of the Game.
I did like that movie.
That's good. It's actually been on HBO lately.
Hey, Augie Garrido was in it, though. You know, you got to love anything Augie Garrido's in.
Major League is hands down, especially after getting to spend time with Bob Uecker. Major League, hands down. I think that was all totally off the top of his head. No script, nothing.
I could see that.
So, yeah, Major League would definitely be the answer.
Back in 2002, what was your favorite class?
The one I didn't go to, probably. I don't know.
Criminology was the answer here.
I was good at that one.
And the last one was, if you could have dinner with any three people, who would they be?
I don't even want to know what I said. I'm sweating on this one a little bit. Was I politically correct at least at the time?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I'd probably still do it today with the same three people. It might change a little bit, but if you want me to give you the answers.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Mickey Mantle.
Yeah, good one.
Because he was my favorite ball player of all time. Bart Simpson, because he probably keeps things interesting. And Alicia Keys, just because.
Yeah, that was. I don't know what I go. The Mickey Mantle one, I'll stand behind. That's a good one.
So a little fun, but anyway, so your junior year, you go in the 10th round. Was there any idea, again, like Chad said, with recruiting? So was there any idea of maybe sticking around for your senior year, or was you ready to go?
No, I was. If I got drafted, I was going. I was getting some bad advice at the time. I had a guy that, truthfully, I don't even remember his name or the agency's name. But they had me all gassed up that I was going to be a top 3-round pick and this and that. So in my mind, I was done. So by the time I'll never forget it. I was over at Christian Helane's house and we were listening to it on the computer. And we get to like the second, third round. And I'm like, dude, it's about to happen. Well, 7 rounds later, the phone still hasn't rang. I get a phone call from Steve Hinton, the scout that actually drafted me. And I'll never forget it. His quote was like, well, dude, you don't sound that happy about it. I was like, bro, I was supposed to go 7 rounds ago. I'm like, where you been? But no, I was ready to go. And it ended up being the right thing to do, in the sense that the Cubs didn't have a 2nd round pick that year. And I think they drafted a couple younger guys. And the selling point to me was I wasn't going to have to go to rookie ball. I was going to go to full season A ball right away. And so basically by doing that, I jumped up and was coming up with the draft class ahead of me for the most part. And we had a absolute loaded team. We stayed in low A, high A, double A. We all kind of moved together. And I think that was probably the thing that propelled me to get to the big leagues or even have a name, because there wasn't any scouts coming to check me out, but they were coming and watching Carlos Marmol and Ryan Theriot. Felix PA was like the biggest prospect in baseball at the time. And the list goes on and on and on about guys that made it to the big leagues. Matt Merton was another one. And just kind of by default, they happened to see some chubby, not real athletic guy that could find a way to put a barrel on a ball and kind of, I guess that's what propelled me to even get a shot.
So you're up with the Cubs, but you get to 2009.
So you had to survive the minor leagues for
you had to grind.
years.
Oh, it was it was got drafted in 03.
Longer than that. No.
03 to
09. Yeah. So about 6 years.
For September 08, I got called up with the Cubs and then proceeded to get put on waivers, which I didn't even know I was on waivers. I found out while I was in Mexico playing. And then the next day I got a call that Milwaukee had claimed me and had the spring training of all spring trainings when I showed up to Milwaukee. I was out of my mind. It was stupid. It felt like everything I touched was an extra base hit. I think I hit like 8 or 9 homers, made the team. And then I didn't play for like 6-7 weeks. I was just sitting there hanging out, getting a great seat in the dugout. But the only reason I even made the team in Milwaukee was Ricky Weeks was out taking ground balls at second base in spring training, and they were killing him. And so I was like, dude, you want me to like just go take some ground balls so you can catch a break like between them? So I rolled out there. The next thing I know, later that day, we're playing the A's, and they tell me I'm going in. I start running over to third base and like, no, where are you going? You're playing second base. So I played second base for a little bit in spring training. Then when Ricky got hurt, I played my first handful of games at second base, and come to find out much later, the only reason they kept me instead of Mike Lamb, who was, pretty established veteran, was the fact I could play second base, I could play first base, play third base, and I'd caught in the minor leagues. So I say that to tell people, like, do not pigeonhole yourself into like, I'm a shortstop and that's all I do. If a coach tells you to go in the outfield, like, guess what? They give scholarships to outfielders every year across the country. And you look at the last 10 years of MVPs, how many of them play the position that nobody wants to play in Little League in right field? So do not pigeonhole yourself into thinking that you're just this. If somebody wants you to go try something, go see what happens. You never know what door that might open for you.
100% on that too. The same with like multi-sport athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of, look at your shortstops, usually, probably the best basketball player on the team, or the, quarterback on the football, somebody super athletic. They go hand in hand. I mean, are you on that boat too with multi-sport athletes?
Absolutely. If you want to be a good infielder, and this is like really out there, I feel like, but if you want to be a good infielder, learn how to play tennis. The footwork is, you think about taking a shot in tennis, hitting a forehand or whatever, it's the same footwork you would have to get your body in position to backhand a ball. And the same, all those sports tie hand in hand together. My daughter, she's 11, and she didn't get her athleticism from me, because she's like, she goes to gymnastics and flipping and twisting and all this stuff, and she picks up stuff so easy. And then you get her like on a basketball court, and the guy that works with her will start tweaking her shot and stuff. And she's just so accustomed to knowing where her body is in space that she can make those adjustments so much quicker than some kids that only do one thing. And I think all sports, the end result is pretty much the same. Maybe the task is different, but at the beginning of every athletic thing you have, it doesn't matter if it's golf, tennis, football, basketball, baseball, there's one word that comes up, it's balance. And the more ways and the more different scenarios you can put your body in to be able to have to find balance and keep it, I think it just is going to help no matter what sport you end up kind of gravitating towards.
I like that. Tennis. This guy played tennis in high school.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I did. But you're right. Like, a lot of ground ball, like you use your feet to fill the ground ball. Mm-hmm. Like it starts with your feet.
But it makes sense. You don't even think about that.
Not with tennis, with like you use your feet to set up your next shot. Yeah. Yeah. You take
it too is like when you field a ground ball, like I'm a firm believer in you bring the ball to your midsection and separate from here. If you watch any sport, like if you're playing basketball, you're throwing a chest pass, where does it start from? You watch a boxer that's throwing a punch, where does it start from? A quarterback, why does a quarterback not drop with the ball up here over their shoulder or out away from their body? It's in here tight where you can have a consistent arm swing. There's so much overlap between different sports that, I just think that it's all muscle memory. And the more you can get accustomed to, it's one thing to go out and take 1,000 ground balls or do 1,000 different drills that are controlled. That's fine and good. And it's, just like hitting off a tee is a great thing to be able to repeat something. But how many swings do you take during the course of a year? How many ground balls do you take during the course of a year that are that exact scenario? There's always some outlying variable that comes in the way to where you just got to be athletic and be able to let your body react. And so I think just getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things makes that process a whole lot easier.
Well, you were even saying, like, even with your daughter, it helps out with adjustability for like things that you have to learn or something different. It'll be easier for somebody that's more athletic that does more things.
Absolutely.
You get that little twitch. That's what they like to say, twitchy, right?
Yeah. That's the best when the gurus are like, yeah, he's really twitchy.
He's twitchy.
The gurus never put that on my scouting report.
Well, speaking of your call up, where was the call up like, and where were you at, and how'd that all go?
So I was in Des Moines, Iowa, and in the minor leagues, you all know when September 1st is, and you're just hoping that's like the one day you're hoping to get called into the office. And at the time, me and my wife had a son. We still have the son, but we already had him, and we had just recently found out he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, and that was the first time in my life that like the clock started ticking. Like, this isn't just about me or my wife. Like, I don't need a whole lot to get through the day to day, but I'm going to have to figure out a way to provide for this kid who's going to need, he's going to need extra above and beyond what most kids are going to need for the rest of his life. And I've got to be able to do something to provide. So the clock was ticking, and, people got called in the office, and there was, I think there's 3 other guys that got called in the office and went up. So I'm kind of lingering, like, man, maybe I'll just sit here a minute longer and see if, Pat Listash was the manager, calls me in. Whole clubhouse cleared out, and like, I'm starting to get in my feelings a little bit. Like, dude, I just had a great year. If I ain't getting called up now, like, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, it ended up being really cool. He called me in. He was like, dude, I didn't want anybody else around when I called you in. And he told me that I was going to the big leagues. And the funniest thing about it was, about 6 months ago, the farm director called me, and we started talking, and I didn't know this, but it was like, you want to talk about a charity call up? They called me up because the farm director went to bat for me, saying that, hey, this kid, like, the X amount of $1,000 he's going to make for this month is huge for this guy and his family. And that was the only reason, not the only, but one of the main reasons why they even brought me up. And it just so happened that the Cubs were about to clinch going to the playoffs. And down the stretch, after we'd clinched, we were going basically every other day. The starters were playing, and then like the Iowa Cubs played the next game. And we were playing the New York Mets, and we went to Milwaukee and played, and they were in a dogfight for the wild card. And we beat the Mets 2 out of 3, and the 2 that we won was basically our AAA team playing. And I had a big couple hits. And when I went on waivers, that's how Doug Melvin was like, dude, this guy helped get us in the playoffs, helped knock the Mets out. And that was the only reason he even knew who I was, to bring me over. So kind of a full circle deal, I guess, with such a life-changing event that I just found out with my son ended up being a big reason why I even got a shot in the first place.
You never know who's watching.
Never do.
That's awesome, dude. That's such a great story.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I mean, and then your first year with Milwaukee, you were top 5 in rookie voting, and you had a freaking great season. I think you were right there with McCutchen.
Yep.
Coughlin, I think, won the rookie of the year that year. But
yeah.
Can you kind of talk about your first full swing in the big leagues versus being in the minor? I mean, you've grinded it out all these years. How different was it? Is it just being in the show, or like, did you have like a bunch of holy shit moments? Like, that's this guy, there's Prince Fielder. Like, well,
the cool thing was we had a really young group of guys in Milwaukee. And so, like, even though I was a rookie, I was older than Prince. I think me and Rick might've been the same age, Corey Hart, like, we were all right there the same age, which that made it nice. But then we had the veterans we had, for whatever reason, they took such good care of me. Craig Counsell was a guy that, like, when we go on the road, he'd take me to lunch every day, me and him. And Jason Kendall was another one that I don't even know why or how, but I got in charge of making sure kid got home back to the hotel in one piece. And so I'd sit in the hotel bar with him and our hitting coach every night and just sit there and have a couple beers. And so once that started happening, he really started taking care of me. And then we brought in Trevor Hoffman that same year. And, Hoffman was somebody growing up in California that, was the guy. And to see his work ethic and the way he went about business, but then also get to know him kind of on a personal level, that was, I guess it wasn't a moment, but the whole thing in totality was kind of that, oh shit, like what's going on right here. I didn't have that moment until the next year. We were in Milwaukee and I knew I was going to be starting opening day. I'll never forget it. Driving down that highway in Milwaukee, I pulled over first time in my life and I puked my guts out on the side of the road, scared to death. Ubaldo Jimenez was pitching against us. Milwaukee was notorious for being terrible to hit in day games because the shadows. And you want to talk about like some kind of like, that was the first time that it really hit me. Like, this is really happening.
Wow. That's crazy. You also had another crazy moment that I saw, that there was a kid that asked you to get a hit for him during a game, and you ended up hitting 3 homers. So you were Babe Ruth that day.
Yeah. That day has gotten more legs than you could possibly imagine, because where I live now is Cardinal country. And so I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't really hate the Cardinals that much, but it's fun to put on like I do. And it happened to be against St. Louis. And the kid came out, and really because of my wife, I got to do a lot of cool stuff in Milwaukee with United Cerebral Palsy because of my son. And they had me come in. And so that kind of got a little bit of that community I got to know some people or whatever. And this kid came, and I was not playing good. I think I had like 5 or 6 homers at the time. And it was
even the mom in the interview said, yeah, we didn't realize how bad he was playing during when he asked him for a hit.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. She called it out.
One of those things, like, he was like, I forget how he posed the question, but it was basically like, man, it hit a homer for me today. And it was kind of like, yeah, all right. Like, almost like, dude, have you watched a game in the last Dude, asked me to roll over a ball to the shortstop and I got you all day. And then it was just like, I mean, it was one of those days that the thing turned into a beach ball for some reason. And the coolest thing about that was it was all off the same pitcher, and I got him to right, left, and center. The first one, I was like, man, that was pretty cool. The second one, I was like, all right, we're, can at least going to be able to sleep tonight. And then the third one was just like, this is bigger than just me out here. Like, there's something else going on.
Baseball god stuff.
Yeah, it was that was wild.
Talking about your son too, in Milwaukee, I also read another story. And I because I know we got time, but I want to make sure we get to it. He got to throw out the first pitch to you one year.
Yeah.
And you were the catcher, and I know Prince, I helped him out there to throw out the first pitch. And you talked about, like, when you got called up, like, this is now not just about me, and this is about my family, my son, but knowing, like, what that he has to live through, how much inspiration do you draw from that, from year to year? And even when you get to Japan, like, what, I got nothing to complain about. I got nothing to cry about. I've got nothing. Like, this kid
is battling.
Yeah. All he does is battle and grind every day. Like, if he can do it, there's no way I can't do it.
No, I mean, I think you summed it up perfectly. Like, so you look at him, and if you find that video, he goes out, he's got a little gold walker or whatever, like little old dude walker. He goes out and throws the first pitch. Well, like, that would have been cool enough as was. We didn't know if he was ever going to walk, period. And then you fast forward to today, and he pitches on his middle school team. He decided not to this year because he's pissed because they don't have anybody that can kick. He was long snapping on his football team. I got a call. I was coaching my daughter's middle school softball game, and got a call from my wife. They're like, hey, Max fixing to go in the game. This was last year, football season. And then 30 seconds later, I'm still coaching first base, and my phone is just going berserk. I'm like, dude, did you hear what your son just did? I'm like, what in the world? Like, he just went in the game 35 seconds ago. Dude's out there throwing haymakers. And so my wife, after the game, I call my wife. I'm like, what is going on? Like, there had to be some sort of a lead up to this. Like, dude, the kid said something crazy, like something. She's like, I don't know. So I go in, the high school coach, he found the video, and I pull it up. It's the first snap. The first snap, he's blocking, plays like 10 yards behind him. He looks to his left, looks to his right. There's no referee. He throws a little weak left, and then just straight uppercut to the dude's ribs, and then kind of pushes him away and runs off. And I'm just like, dude, do you have any idea that you will get absolutely pounded out there? But it's just, so I say that to say, like, he has been an inspiration, I think, to not just me, but even seeing his buddies who have been, I mean, they've been really good to him. They kind of treat me like their dad, as far as they don't think, oh, well, you know, Mac's dad played in the big leagues or whatever. It's just like, dude, he's some old guy that doesn't know what he's talking about. But to see them, the way they've kind of accepted him, and to just see some of that starting to rub off on some of the kids he's around. And it's, I mean, it really is pretty inspiring and special. The kid got dealt a tough hand. I mean, he's got cerebral palsy. He's autistic. He's as smart as anybody. He's hilarious. But he's got a little hitch in his giddy up.
He plays with a chip.
It seems like he's got his dad's his short fuse.
Yeah, probably true. I joke about it all the time. One of his good buddies is like the athletic kid in the school. I tell him all the time, I'm like, dude, you know how lucky you are that Mac's not disabled? I said, number one, y'all two wouldn't be friends. I said, because he'd be an absolute beast with what he's got going on, being able to pitch or even make contact at the plate, swinging with all the balance issues he has. I said, and he's got my demeanor. I said, he would talk shit the whole time. Does he talk shit as it is anyway?
Oh gosh, I love it. I love it. I just, I'm wondering, because there's a lot of stories in there, and even some of the players talked about how, inspirational he was, and help them, with the mentality and that kind of thinking.
Like it's more than just a game.
Yeah, it is. Then it puts things in perspective too. No, I just thought it's huge, and to play, and it also says how awesome it is to have a wife like you have to play as long as you've been able to play the game, to somebody to take care of the home while you're doing that and working. It says a lot.
Yeah, she does not get near the credit that she deserves. I mean, I hit the mother load when it came to having a good wife. As far as supporting me, going to Japan, taking care of kids, homeschooling while I was traveling so that we could all be together. You name it, she does it. Like she jokes a lot of times that I'm her third kid, because she ends up having to take care of me just as much as anybody. But
my wife says the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's a common thread. I think we're all.
Yeah.
But just, it's what you see on the field or on TV. Like it looks easy, and it looks like, and it is, don't get me wrong, greatest job anybody could ever have. There's so much more going on behind the scenes and at home. I mean, you're still living real life. I mean, it's just because you're getting to live out your childhood dream doesn't mean the rest of your life is just a walkthrough and everything's just, done for you. It's still, you still got to be dad, you still got to be a husband, all those types of things. And to have somebody like that to support you, I don't know how you do it otherwise.
Yeah. And I bet, going 0 for 4 or having a couple rough games is tough, but not being home is probably even harder. It magnifies that, or, it compounds that a little bit more.
Yeah, you want to talk about some lonely days. Being in Japan when the kids were back here in school by myself, only person that, I ain't nobody to speak to even. That could be a pretty lonely situation. Or even when I went to San Francisco, obviously I was dog shit, and I probably would have booed myself as well. But she had to deal with me not being real fun to be around for months on end. And I'll never forget it. She finally looked at me one day and probably had enough of my attitude, I guess. And she was like, dude, is this what you're going to do? Like, you're going to just freaking be pissed off all the time, or are you going to realize that you're playing a game, and that even if I think she said something like, even if you're the worst player in the big leagues, that's pretty freaking cool. And so just for her to be able to kind of check me in a way that nobody else really would or did or could, you know, I owe every bit of success is partly to her as well.
Yeah. How was Japan too? I mean, because you raked in Japan. The 3 years you played, like, your numbers are gaudy. And you hear about how much, like, how big baseball is there. Just kind of get into that a little bit.
There's some parts of Japanese baseball that I enjoyed more, especially for me. Like, it was kind of, I mean, I guess you stroke your ego a little bit. It was kind of cool to go over there and, like, walk out of the apartment building and be a guy. Like, one, you stand out. You're big old white dude walking around with tattoos on your arm. Like, you stick out like a sore thumb. But then you go to the park and it's like Tuesday day game in the Tokyo Dome, and you've got 50,000 people. So that part of it was awesome. And, like, just the electricity and the energy in the stadium. You know, they've got cheering sections, and, like, so when the visiting team's hitting, their cheering section, they'll have horns and drums and chants and choreographed dances and stuff they're doing. And then when the home team comes up, the other side goes. It's just an electric atmosphere. And I was really fortunate to go over there. I played on the first time I went over there, I went with Andrew Jones, and we actually won the Japanese World Series with Masahiro Tanaka. They ended up going to the Yankees.
Right.
He was on another level. But so that was awesome. But then too is just learning that they're like 20 years behind in their way of thinking about baseball. And I don't say that in a bad way, but they're very much, I feel like, as a culture, this is how we learn to do this, and this is the right way to do it, and we're just going to learn to perfect it in this manner. And you could take that into, like, food or the transportation, whatever it is. Like, they're very much perfectionists, and they demand a lot of work. There's not as much of kind of goofing off, you know, in the locker room, joking around. I mean, there's some, but it's much more of a serious work. Like, their families do not come to games for the most part. And one of them told me, they said, well, like, if you worked at an office, is your wife coming to watch you sit in your cubicle all day? And that's just very much how they view it. And I learned a lot about how to hit over there. Some of it was kind of like Mr. Miyagi type stuff. I had a hitting coach that told me, because they throw fork balls like, I mean, it's stupid the amount of fork balls they throw. And when you go over there, it's not a pitch you see very often. And in spring training, it's like, it's a known fact. You get the foreigner over there, and it's just international peace sign after international peace sign. And you're sitting down and you can't figure out, like, dude's throwing 85 miles an hour and I cannot square him up. And finally, I had a hitting coach pull me aside, and he was like, hey, you're looking at the ball from the front. I was like, well, no shit, dude. Like, it's coming from over there. Like, and he was like, see the top of the ball. It's like, what are you talking about? See the top of the ball. And then as I got talking to him more, he was explaining that back to what you were saying earlier about my load, he's like, if you're loading and you're staying so low to the ground, you're losing your depth perception, as far as you can see lateral movement, but you're not getting that full depth perception you could. So it got me a little bit more upright to be able to actually see that thing starting to sink this way. And as soon as I figured that out, it was a complete game changer. So just different ways of wording stuff, I guess, or different philosophies on what's important. Just kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there's a billion different ways to get to the same outcome. And there's not one that's necessarily right or wrong, but there's one that works for you that may not work for me, and vice versa. But we can all, there's common things that need to happen on time, but how we get to those certain points can very differently, be very different.
Not cookie cutter.
No.
And if it was that easy, everybody could do it.
And batting practice there's the best thing ever. They go double barrel, 2 guys throwing, and they hire they've got guys, their only job is they throw batting practice. And if you're a foreigner hitting in the middle of the order, you're there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to put as many balls in the seats as you can. And there'd be days where I'm trying to work on something, I'm trying to use the middle of the field, hit line drives, whatever. And I can't tell you how many times the batting practice guy would come up to me and apologize after the round. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." What are you talking about? Did you threw the same today as you did yesterday? And for the last 1,000 days of your life, you've thrown the exact same way. It's like, "Oh, you only hit 2 homers today." And it isn't batting practice. I'm like, "Dude, I was trying to hit line drives back at you. What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, sorry. I got to do better." And then you'd have a day where you hit 15, 20 of them, and they're high-fiving you because they feel like you're saving their job. They're trying to make me look good so they don't get canned.
That's crazy.
That's funny.
Yeah, I never thought. And then so you come back in 14 and end up being NL Player of the Year or Comeback Player of the Year with the Marlins. I read that's where HIT's McGehee started, but you could probably tell me whether that's true or not.
I was the last one to know about it. Somebody said it to me, and I just kind of looked at them. What are you talking about, dude? I get it. I'm a little chubby. I didn't hear the hits part. I thought they said what they said in the movie. I'm like, dude, I get it. I'm not. It hurt my feelings a little bit. And then the play-by-play guy came down, and he was like, "Hey, do you mind if I call you this?" I was like, "Dude, whatever. Just run with it. I don't care."
That's funny. No, that's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty huge. Do you contribute a lot of that, or contribute that to the time in Japan?
Yeah. Between that and the fact that I guess the best thing was it was so different. So I went from, I don't even know what it was, 24, 25, whatever homers in Japan, and then coming back to the big leagues and hitting, I think 4. But the best part that happened was I kind of brought that mentality back with me from Japan that I saw a lot of those guys do. And it wasn't necessarily drive the ball to the ballpark at all costs. It was just, just kind of take what is available and take what the game gives you. And it did help the fact I had Stanton hitting in front of me who, they didn't want to pitch to him. So I had guys on base all the time where I started realizing 35 hop ground ball to the right fielder for an RBI is the same as me going deep with nobody on base. And I think that was what maybe helped sustain the run I got off to, or the start I got off to. But then on the flip side, the next year, I can be a little bit of one of those, if a little bit's good, then a lot's better. And going to San Francisco, I really had kind of bought into that. And I think I took it too far. And the more I tried to take what the game was giving me, I got frustrated. And then it was okay, I got to start getting the ball off the ground. And that made it worse. And if you've ever seen this video, of me hitting in a double plays, it's impressive. I'm actually almost proud of it at this point, because if you could think of a way to do it, I was going to do it. Runner on second, nobody out. Yeah, sure. They'll have a daylight pick on to second base and the pitcher won't see it. Yeah, I'll hit a line drive right by the pitcher's head and the shortstop will catch his hand on second base. Yeah, that'll happen. It was unbelievable the creative ways I found to do. I feel like I should have got more credit. There were some creative double plays I hit into.
Like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
I'll wear it, right?
Yeah. So you did spend some time with the Yankees.
Yeah.
On a loaded, Rivera, CC, Teixeira, Jeter, Pettit.
Was A-Rod?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like?
It was weird. I got traded at the trade deadline. I showed up the next day and I played. Teixeira and Alex Rodriguez were both on the DL. Well, magically, the next day after I played, they both came off the DL. So then I was just hanging out in the Yankees clubhouse for the next month and a half. I played a little bit, but it was different. The coolest thing that happened was I was not a huge Derek Jeter fan. I thought there's no way that this guy is really what is portrayed. And after about 36 seconds of meeting him, I'm like, nope, that's the real deal. What you see is what you get. And I became a huge Derek Jeter fan after that. But just to see everything they do, I would imagine that the Dallas Cowboys are kind of like this with Jerry Jones. Like, they do everything the same, but they take it just that extra step a little bit further. Like everybody, all major league teams have got security, but these dudes have like 2 former FBI agents that are in the clubhouse, on the bus, like clearing fans out of the way, hustling you into the hotel. I'm like, dude, nobody cares about me. Like, go save Derek. Like, hey, nobody's bothering me, but if you're on that team, they treat you the same as any of the other guys. And it's pretty cool. The only thing I didn't like about it was it is the quietest plane I've ever been on in my life. Everybody, they had so much glue. They had like 14 side businesses. They're on their laptops. And there was one day I'm sitting on the plane and Cece was sitting next to me. I looked at him. I was like, dude, could you imagine if these guys got onto one of those Brewer planes back when it was rolling? And we just started laughing. They would have no idea what was going on.
That's funny stuff too. I mean, that's who you're working with every day. And Girardi was the manager. How'd you like him?
Grant, I was only there for a month and a half or so. I liked him. I didn't have just a real in-depth relationship with him, but I liked him pretty good. The hitting coach, Kevin Long, was awesome. I spent a lot of time with him, not playing that much. So there was a lot of work with the hitting coach, trying to make sure if I did get an opportunity that I was still dialed in. So that was somebody that I kind of developed a relationship with. And he introduced me to one of the greatest drills of all time. I don't know if you've ever seen it, the one that Robinson Cano does, where he's got the net set up. It's the old school, like swinging up against a fence drill, except front toss. And the whole goal is, you're trying to hit homers with it to the pull side. And once he goes through and kind of explains it all to you, it makes a ton of sense. So that was kind of one of even when I went to Japan after that, went through a little stretch where I wasn't feeling right. And that was one of the drills I went back to start feeling better. But there was a lot of good that came out of it. It was just different. It was very more of a corporate feel, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. More business, which seems like the Cowboys would be that way too. And they have fun, but they're more about we're here to win,
And that's
it was the first time I went to the stadium worried about what I'm actually gonna wear to walk in the stadium. In Milwaukee, it was a home game. It was, flip-flop shorts, and we got guys riding skateboards in from the parking lot. Whereas in Milwaukee or in New York, you pull into the players' parking lot and there's 2,000 people sitting there, yelling and screaming and wanting to take pictures and stuff. So you start getting a little self-conscious. Especially, I didn't have all this to hide up all the blemishes.
So after you end up, I think you finished your MLB time with Detroit.
Yep.
And then you did go back to Japan for 2 more years with the Giants there. Now, this is probably always the hardest part to talk about is, did you get to walk away the way you wanted to? Or
yeah.
Okay.
When I decided to go back to Japan, I signed a 2-year deal, and I told my wife, I said, these 2 years and we're done. And 16-hour flight to Japan. I know it's my last year going into it. And at some point I had the realization, I'm actually going to sit back and I'm going to enjoy this and I'm going to try to take it in. And I was able to do that. We ended up getting knocked out in the playoffs. And the last, when it was over, come back and trying to get undressed. That was the only time that it was really difficult. It was I knew taking that uniform off was the last time that I was going to do it, at a competitive level. But by and large, the game always wins. It's undefeated. And for me, my only version of not conquering, but I guess winning, was being able to call it on my own terms and not have to get called into an office and told to beat it, which that means a lot to me, I guess.
And it's tough too. 285, 21, and 84 to, you still have it. It's not, you know what I mean? It's
you produced.
It's not like you had a bad season and you're like, I'm just not good enough. You were still playing at a competitive level and really good at it.
I can still hit. But no, at some point I was going to have to make a decision, and when I saw the Olympics going on, I told my son, I was like, man, it's a good thing I didn't know what was going on 6 months ago, because I'd have tried to get back in shape, because I can still hit.
I love it.
Or I can't, I don't know, but in my mind, I rake right now. So
that's the mentality you need to have. You should have that thought process.
I'm gonna be 80 years old going to like some game. Throw that shit up here.
So Coach Purse said that you were interested about maybe starting to do a podcast or something like that.
So this is how ignorant I am. All right. I don't have Twitter. I don't have none of it. I just business decision. It was a bad move. I get too pissed off at people. So I didn't need to go down that world. And coming back from the beach, we're out in Tennessee. So it's like an 8.5 hour, 9 hour trip with no traffic. And every redneck from Tennessee goes to the beach the same week. So coming back, they're all hungover and can't drive. So you're going to get stuck in traffic. My wife's listening to this podcast, and I'm tired of just sitting in silence. So we went old school, and I grabbed one of the deals, and we're listening to it, sharing headphones. And we get about 4 hours into the drive. I'm like, dude, I got it. I'm starting a podcast. And totally just spouting off, didn't even think anything of it. Well, the more I got talking about it, I've got a buddy that was the farm director for the Angels. So I call my agent. I'm like, dude, what do you got on this? He says, you need to call Bobby Scales, because he's thinking about doing the same thing. Well, me and Bobby get talking. His idea and my idea were totally at different ends of the spectrum. So I've been kind of kicking it around. It's one of those things, like it's, I'm sure you guys know this from what I found out, it's way more work that goes into it than what you think. It's not just sitting at a desk, talking for 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. There's a lot into it. So I'm still trying to piece together an actual functioning idea and see if it's something that I want to put the time in to do. And then my thing is, I get so frustrated, especially here. I think it's worse with all the travel stuff going on. And then you run into the guys that are teaching it. And I got a daughter who's super athletic, so I see it on the softball side too. The guys that are teaching the game, they got like a little bit of information. It'd be like me working on your car. Like, I know where stuff is, but you don't want me working on it. And so they're talking all these things, and they can speak the language, but when it comes down to really understanding it and being able to break it down and make it make sense and be functional, they don't have the expertise to do it. And I'm watching these kids out there you take a swing, for example, and it's one of those, like, dude, if you slow it down, slow-mo in a mirror and look at it, it's like, yeah, it's pretty, but you can't hit. And so between that and then the way all the perfect game stuff is now, like, you'll hear it all the time, different sports. It's like, oh, such and such school is looking at me and this and that. It's like, dude, no, they're not. Like, they're not. Just because you're a decent high school player on a decent high school program and you might play travel ball for the West Tennessee Dirt Daubers, it doesn't mean that you're not going anywhere. But I don't know. The whole, like, who to listen to and how to actually go down that route. I feel like there's just not a lot of people talking about it. And just the whole thing is just starting to feel like a big money grab, the whole thing. And, for the kids that really have got a chance, I think there's so much noise and so many different competing ideas of how to go about it. I don't think they really have a clue. And like, I was talking to Coach Purse about it, like the JUCO route. I get it. Nobody starts playing and is like, man, I'm going to go play at Fresno City College. Like, that's not the dream, right? You're wanting to get a scholarship to go to Fresno State, Mississippi State, big time Division I program. But what they don't realize is that if you're a guy, that gives you so many more shots at it. You can get drafted after your senior year of high school, freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. If you're still there, you got another shot at your senior year. And a lot of these kids, they haven't ever been exposed to playing on a day in, day out basis, where junior college is kind of that happy medium where it's baseball and it's college, but it's still a stepping stone to get to where you want to get. And I feel like I see it all the time. I've got kids here that they're good. They could be good. but they're so against going to a junior college. They'd rather go put on, Old Miss jersey and ride the bench for 3 years to say they played baseball at Old Miss. It's like, that's not, to me, it doesn't make sense to me, I guess.
Perfectly said. I think you would be great at it. I think you're experienced,
and what you want to do is perfect.
Yeah. And I think where you're like, we try to do that and it evolved into something different. That's what we started initially wanting to do what you're saying. And it just, when more guests started coming on and you talk to Coach Bennett and like, it just turned into something else. And willing to play overseas, like there's a resume here where like, if you're not willing to listen to this, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, go, that's fine.
And that's the thing I struggle with is like, for example, the guy our kids go to a private school here. And actually, before I came on, I was going back and listening, and I thought some of the stuff you guys were talking about recruiting, I was dying laughing because I thought you guys were dead on. But anyway, the guy that coaches here, great dude. Like, it has nothing to do with my way of coaching. It may be different than yours or his. And I'm good with that. But it's just we had a kid that played at our school, Trinity Christian Academy in Jackson, Tennessee. He ended up going to Mississippi State, won national championship, starting shortstop from like game 3 on as a freshman. Well, which is awesome. The kid, great kid, one of the better defensive shortstops you're going to find. All his summer ball, travel ball stuff was at a high level. He had other guys on the team that were getting drafted, this, that, and the other. Well, now the problem is we've got kids that are, maybe they're all district in West Tennessee, but they think because the Forsyth kid is going to start in Mississippi State, that's what they're going to do. And I'll try to talk to some of these kids, and they look at me like I'm crazy because they've got such and such Joe Blow hitting coach. I'm not going to use any names. Hopefully it doesn't ever get out to them, but there's a couple guys here who are just clowns. And they're telling them, when they're talking to them about approach and hitting and this and that, I'm sitting there listening to them like, dude, you're wasting your time, your money, and you're getting worse doing it. And they've all been pumped up that you're the next guy. You're the next guy. You're going to get, if I get one more call from a parent that is telling me, asking me about an agency, this and this, or this such and such agent called me. And it's like, okay, well, like Scott Boras, for example, if Scott Boras calls you and it's Scott on the phone or one of his top guys, that's different. But when you find that when the intern that's going and beating around at, some obscure travel ball game comes up to you and flips you a business card, that's totally different. And but they take that and they run with it like that's the standard. And that's actually when I was talking to Coach Purse, I said, I wish that somebody would record his whole spiel on recruiting and scouting that he gives at all his camps and stuff, because I think he's got a really good perspective of it. And I think that the time is coming where the game's going to start reverting back to what it used to be, because there's only so much technology you can get into and so many non-baseball people that can have an opinion before somebody's going to be smart enough to realize, hey, I got to do this different to get a different class of guys that nobody's looking at, find the diamond in the rough. The only way you're going to be able to do it is to go old school and find the kids that can just play. And so that, to me, it's hard for me to watch a major league game anymore almost, because it's changed so much from when I started out. And between the rules changes, just the lack of understanding situational baseball, and you can't, like, and I'll be the first to admit that the talent as far as what you see on the mound or the God-given ability these kids have to hit is through the roof. It's better than it's ever been. But they've gotten by on that so much, and it's all a production now instead of just finding some guys that can grind and play and learn how to win. So that's kind of my, I guess, grassroots movement. I want to try to start being a couple of the guys that I know feel similarly, that have much better resumes than I do. We've talked about it quite a bit, just about how can we slowly start to bring back what's really great about this game and get rid of some of the bullshit.
It's like, this is what we've been trying to say the whole time.
Well, I mean, I'm just listening. Like, if you had a podcast, I'm listening to you right now.
This is exactly what
I would suggest you go do it.
And I appreciate it. And that's like when Coach P told me about what you guys were doing, I went on and just started listening to some stuff and hearing what you guys are doing, especially, you know, in the Valley right there where baseball still is, thank God, a big deal. I think it's, you know, I think you guys have got a good, kind of a good niche for what's going on. So if there's ever anything I can do to help kind of promote, I'd love to do it. Cause I'm not just blowing smoke. I think you guys got a pretty good angle on what's going on. And even, you know, the stuff you talked about just with all the things, I guess, went down with Buchanan, I'm guessing, or across the board, that's not just happening there. I mean, that's a nationwide, everywhere you go. Well, all right. So this, when I kind of got fired up listening to it because I think you guys were on the right path as far as like high school sports. One, to me, I think that the beauty of high school sports is like, this is our neighborhood, for lack of better terms, playing against your neighborhood. Like old school, let's go out and, you know, pick up basketball at the park, or even before that, when people actually picked up and had sandlot games. Like, this is my crew of guys. We're going to play yours. We're going to see who's better. And I think that's what's the beauty of high school sports, is creating that kind of rivalry. And I remember when I was at State, I didn't grow up in Fresno. I was in Santa Cruz. But even that, you get sucked into like Clovis West, you know, Fresno High, Buchanan, whatever it is, Bullard Buchanan. Like, you kind of get sucked into it. And I think that's the beauty of high school sports. But the other thing that I almost wanted to take it a step further, as far as like, I'm a big proponent of develop what you have. And if there's a kid that, for whatever reason, like, if there's a reason that a child's unhappy at a school, or there's a situation that's just not good, whatever the case is, mom, dad moves, situation changes, and you decide to go to another school, absolutely be upfront about it. People change jobs, things like that all the time. But when you get into the recruiting of a kid, or the parents are looking for the validation of sending their kids somewhere where they're going to be able to go to work and talk about, well, my son just, you know, we're going to the state finals or section finals or whatever it is. And you took kind of the easy way to build like this super team. Like, to me, that's the same mentality. Like, so to back up, I guess my big belief is that I was very fortunate to be able to make a living playing a game. And I'm never going to be the one to tell a kid that you can't do it, because I mean, there's no reason that I should be doing it. There's much more physically gifted people than I am. But the harsh reality is that there's only been like 20 something thousand people ever to play a game in the major leagues. And then the number of people that have been able to make a living and sustain their family is even lower than that. And then when you get the people that have like the generational money, or I like to call it the FU money, where they can do whatever they want, it doesn't matter, like, is minuscule. But all those kids, and this is where I think Coach Bennett had it nailed, was he could give you anything you wanted baseball wise, and his whole staff did, and develop you if you were a guy that had an opportunity to do that. But what was not lost on him and his staff was he was grooming people to go out into the real world and be, you know, young men. And he treated you that way. And that was always something that I think was at the forefront of what he was doing. And I think that when you start going around and trying to find the easy way out, like, that's the same mentality, like why divorce rates are up and things like that. It's like, there's always going to be like, oh, that girl's really attractive, or that dude over there's got a better job than the guy I'm with, or whatever. And you're always looking for the easier rise to the top, instead of like just getting down and grinding it out where you're at and being not content, but being at peace with where you are, and how can I make my current situation better with the hand I've been dealt. And I think that if we can get to that, we'll have more productive young men and women coming out of high schools and colleges with kind of that grinded out mentality than we do just grass is greener on the other side mentality.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what we've been trying to get at, is just like, have pride where you come from, and wherever you are, you're going to probably end up where you're supposed to end up anyways. It's not like one team is going to be the difference of, you know, because I have guys I coach at Fresno City, and I have guys that were on Buchanan's team and all over the Valley. from D5 to D1. It doesn't matter where you go. If you're meant to be somewhere, you're going to get there. And I'm a true believer in that.
Yeah, and I think improvement, told you yesterday, improvement lies with the process, not with convenience. Right? You got to put in the work to be good. If you want to improve, it's going to take work.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, I missed out on a lot of things growing up because baseball was more important to me. My wife, who bless her is a billion times smarter than I am, she'll talk to me about things, raising kids or whatever, and it kind of hurts her feelings, but it's true. Is she's got one that she'll drop on me from time to time. She's like, if it's important enough to you, you'll do it. And until it's important enough to you, you're gonna complain about it and whine about it, but you're never gonna do anything about it. And I think that sentiment can be true for pick your situation, basically.
I mean, you kind of mentioned it a little bit with some of the rule changes earlier. We'll kind of end with this, but where are you at with the game? Like with the runner at second base for extras, for like the DH in both leagues. Chad loves that idea, but just kind of where the game is, like the way it's played, the way they use players, the way pitchers cannot go past the fifth, it seems like anymore. Like, just what are your thoughts on where it's at?
Yeah. So the extra inning thing, I don't like it, but I think it's almost a necessary deal. Because there is nothing worse than playing a 14 inning game and blowing through a bullpen and having it burned for a week. I understand it from that standpoint. The DH in both leagues, from a fan's perspective, I think it's awesome, because who doesn't want to see Nelson Cruz hit until he's 55 years old? But from a player's standpoint, a guy that's trying to either make it and find his niche, I think it sucks. Just in the sense that those are at bats that a lot of times go to the guy that's still trying to, stick in the big leagues and find their niche. It's a lot tougher I feel like it's going to limit the amount of young players coming up and getting the opportunity. But from a fan's perspective, and at the end of the day, look, it's all whatever makes the most money is how it's going to go. If it brings in more fans to watch and makes for a more exciting game, then whatever. I'm a big fan of having people coming in and pinch hitting and having to have big at bats off the bench. And some of the stuff I'm okay with. The pitchers not being able to, not having like the lefty specialist for one out. Like, yeah, it moves the game along, but dude, that's somebody's job that just got axed, like that's what they do is they get left-handed hitters out. And I think that all the analytics and the technology and stuff like that, like going through a lineup a third time is almost taboo now. And it makes it so much harder to hit, because spring training is miserable when you've got 3 at bats in a day and you're facing 3 different arms. It's just really hard to get into a rhythm. And I think teams started to figure that out with the opener and all that the more different looks you can give somebody, the harder it is to have the good timing and this and that. I'm hoping that I hope that not I don't think it needs to be a rule change, but I'm hoping that as time goes on, pitchers will adjust and adapt and be able to get back to going 6-7 innings. I think it's just more of I think it's a cleaner game when you've got a starter that's going to be in there for 5, 6, 7 innings. And then their job is to get it to the middle relief and pass it down the line instead of just playing matchup. I think it can get a little bit, I don't know. It takes some of the pureness, I guess, of the game out in the chess match between hitter and pitcher, which I guess that's obviously why they do it. They figure the more information you have, the better success you have as a hitter. But I always love watching the pitchers that are really good. Like you find Scherzer and you faced him twice and he's got something in his back pocket that he hasn't shown you and he's not going to show you until he needs it. And being able to kind of play that game with them and have the setup for maybe the first inning. I ain't going to show you everything I've got today, but third, fourth inning comes around and, 2 outs, guys on second and third, it's going to be a completely different at bat, and being able to just having to do your homework on what guys do in certain situations, I think kind of gets lost. It's more, man, we're going to go up there and grip it and rip it and see how far we can hit it. And the pitcher's going to reach back and know that he's only throwing 2 or 3 innings. I'm going to cut it loose and, best stuff right out of the chute. So I don't know. It goes both ways. I like the way it used to be better, but I think that time's probably passed, and I'm probably in the minority on that.
How about, you being a hitter, you're just talking about grip it and rip it. And I feel like, I hit for power too, but it was just more about, I think RBIs were more important than they are now. And like, even just getting on base was more important because it had something to do. Now it's strikeouts are okay. And I know, even the era you grew up in, it wasn't fun striking out. Like, you didn't want to strike out. And now I think we've adapted to that. How do you feel about, kids aren't mad they're striking out. They're okay with it.
To me, I always took it personal when I struck out. Like, it drove me nuts. I think the only thing worse than striking out was popping up to the catcher in foul territory. I don't know why. It just bothered me to no end. But the RBI has been so discredited. Like, I got into an argument with a guy in Miami. He was I don't even know. I don't even really want to give him the time of the day to say what he did. But he said something about the RBI is a worthless stat. And I guess I was in a bad mood. So I stand up from my stool and I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's how I feed my family, is driving in runs. Like, where do you get off saying that it's a worthless stat? And he's like, oh, well, it's a team stat. You had to have somebody on base to drive in. I said, well, obviously, but it's a team game, number one. And number two, I said, you act like every at bat is created equally. I said, say you've got a story to write, and I'm going to give you 72 hours to give me 1,000-word story, and you're going to give it to me with no errors in it. But now let's say I'm going to have you write that same story, and I've got a gun to your head, and I tell you that if you don't finish it in an hour and a half, pulling the trigger. You're going to tell me that the pressures, you're doing the same thing, right? And that's the same idea I took as a hitter. Like, there's a difference in a 15-0 game, and people are just playing out the string, stress-free at bat, opposed to having Craig Kimbrell staring you down with his arm dangling out to the side, and the win and run or the tying runs on third base. Like, those at bats aren't the same. And I think that the guys that can drive in runs and do it consistently, they've got an ability to slow the game down, slow their heartbeat down, and stay in the moment and not let it get, like, obviously you realize what's on the line, but being able to stay within themselves and control themselves enough to be able to give themselves a chance of success. You talk about it in other sports, like every year when one of these super teams in the NBA gets created, they always talk about, like, who's going to take the last shot. Well, there's a difference. Why was Michael Jordan the guy that was taking the last shot and not, John Paxson? It's because Jordan had the confidence and the ability to not let the situation get too big. He wanted it. He wasn't scared of the fallout if it didn't go well. He was going to take that shot 100 times out of 100 times and not think twice about it. And I think that, back to the point about the striking out, like, yeah, on paper, an out's an out. But I would argue you're going to get more production, even if the average doesn't change that much. I feel a whole lot better as a hitter putting 2 balls in play and maybe having nothing to show for it, rather than swinging from my butt 6 times and swinging through pitches and walking back to the dugout and sitting down. Like, it makes me feel like I've got a chance that next at bat. And I think that's where it gets missed, is like, oh, well, you're still out. Well, yeah, you're still out. But what you can't put into a computer is how that affects your psyche and your mentality going into the next one.
Yeah, or the swing you just put on it. A hard out's, you can feel good. You feel good about a hard line drive out.
I told Adam, he was laughing at me one day. I hit a ball that I think it hit the ground 85 times before it got to the outfield for a hit. And he just started laughing at me. He's like, dude, was that not embarrassing? I said, dude, no. I said, this is embarrassing for about 2 seconds until you look up there when I go up to hit the next time. It's going to say 1 for 1. And, you felt like you got away with one. And you kind of had the day saver to where now it's like, hey, now we're just going extra credit. Like, I've monkeys off my back. I got one. Now let's see if we can grind it out and get two.
Shay, you probably appreciate those the most because those don't come by very often. It's hard to get on base in the big leagues.
Tells you they all even out. It's full of shit. Like, I if that's the case, I want every line out I've ever had to have a hit to back it up, because it doesn't add up. Right.
And you were talking about RBIs too, both of you guys, and it's like the point of the game is to score runs.
Yeah, you say that all the time.
You know, like you got to score runs. It doesn't matter if he gets on base and stands on second base for nobody to drive him in. So
right. Yeah.
Our RBIs are a big deal.
Lead off double and you get stranded on second base. Like, oh, you might as well struck out. You didn't score.
Exactly. It was all unproductive. No, RBIs are very, very undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this has been ridiculous. Hey, is there something to the ball with the sticky shit and the juiced ball? Like, are you in on all that stuff, or is that conspiracy theory?
We fix it tomorrow. Call Japan, tell them to send them a dozen baseballs, and figure out whatever they're doing to make those balls, and just do that, and it's done. Because every pitcher that I can think of, they had something on their hands. And I didn't care, because if you're going to throw a white rock at me at 95 or 100 miles an hour, I'd like to have an idea that you may know where it's going. I mean, I was on deck and saw Stanton get hit in the face. That was 88. And to see the damage that did, like, it's people talk about like being scared of the ball. And I tell kids this all the time, because I'll ask them, like, you scared of the ball? And at first they want to be tough. And they're like, no, I ain't scared of the ball. I'm like, dude, you're full of crap. Like, yeah, you're scared of the ball. Like, there was times I walked in there and it's like, dude, I don't really feel like Familia from the Mets. The dude's ball sinks like 8.5 feet. And at the time, he was like upper 90s. It made you think twice when he wrapped one around your face at 98 and you could smell it going by. Like, it checks you a little bit. And so I'm good with them having something to be able to control it. Now, if we're going too far and we're, what's the new one, the spin rate?
Yeah.
Through the roof with it, and it's really affecting that, then there's got to be a line. But in Japan, they take those things out of the wrapper, and the leather's actually got some tack to it. And every single Japanese pitcher that you see come to the United States, or watch the next time there's a WBC and they use the major league ball, start looking at anything that comes out of like the Japanese reports. Every single one of them will talk about how slippery the ball is. And you go over there and the ball, it flies just as well, if not better. I mean, everything's good about it. The seams are maybe a touch higher. And those guys, they love rosin. Like, they pound the rosin on their hand or whatever, and they're throwing puff balls up there. But there's no, like, you will never see a pitcher in Japan have anything other than sweat and rosin with them. No pine tar, no nothing. And as an infielder, I mean, there's guys I know for a fact I played with, because you pick up a ground ball, and if they'd cut the grass earlier that day, it's covered in grass clippings because there's so much crap on the ball. You never had that happen in Japan. It was a nice, clean ball every time you picked it up. Never felt like it was slipping out of your hand. So if they can figure it out, I'm pretty sure we've got enough really smart people that can figure out how to make a ball that's not like an ice cube when it comes out of a wrapper.
Well, even Team USA in the Olympics said that ball was amazing over there in Tokyo.
It's awesome. The first time you pick it up, it's like, oh, it's different. After 3 or 4 days, you don't even think twice about it.
That's interesting too. But yeah, a lot of the pictures, the reports came out that they really enjoyed that baseball, and that it's an easy, like you just said, they could fix it tomorrow if they wanted to. So maybe we'll see it happen. I'm not too sure. Casey, this has been a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate you doing this. I know you talked to Coach Purse, and Coach Purse called me all excited, and he's like, I got one for you. And he said your name, and we've talked about it. You've been on our list. It's like, how do we get a hold of him? We don't know how to get a hold of him. And
well, yeah, you have no social media or anything.
And Coach Purse was like, dude, he's in. So I hope the podcast gets started up, and if it does, we're in.
Yeah.
And we'll share the hell out of it and
listen to it
and support everything you do. I'll I really appreciate you again taking some time out of your day to do this. I think our listeners are going to love this, and just being, like I said, being a high school kid while you guys were at state and ditching school to go watch the Johnny Quick, and yeah, man, just took me back a little bit. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, I do really appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you guys are doing, and then I appreciate you guys being so gracious to be willing to help me out if I do get this thing off and running. And man, if you guys ever want to do it again, you guys got my contact. Holler at me anytime. I love doing it. And I got one Coach Purse thing. Next time you see him, be like, because I'm sure if you've been around him, you've heard it. It's like, oh boy, if I could run, you wouldn't know me. That's my
he's probably going to see it too, or hear it.
When I use that, I don't use that one, but I do use one of his. He's like, man, what is it? See yourself catch it and you'll never miss it. That one blew my mind for like 5 years. And then I was like, wait a second. If I watch myself catch it, it's in my glove. I didn't miss it, of course. So yeah, Coach Pert, he had a lot of good ones. A little sneaky, but not sneaky or no. He's not sneaky. He's just out there with it.
Yeah, but it's like it comes out of nowhere, is what. Yeah, it's like you don't expect that to just come out of there.
Normal conversation, and then it flips.
Yeah.
I was trying on the so hard to get him keyed up, but I couldn't get it. He must have been around people that he couldn't let it fly. I was trying to key it up.
Now he is definitely an outstanding baseball guy. One of my favorites. He's a genuine dude too.
Yep, baseball needs more people like that. No
100%. I agree with that. Keep us posted on the podcast. Seriously,
I'll do it. No, I appreciate it. Seriously.
Again, appreciate you doing that. It's episode 125 with Casey McGehee.
It's McGehee.
It's McGehee, the Hit or Die podcast.
Hit or Die.